The settlement on New Harvest had existed for 12 years, tucked between rolling hills that reminded the colonists of Earth's grasslands. 300 families called it home, growing crops that fed the outer colonies and raising children who knew only the freedom of open skies. This particular morning brought no warnings, no signs that everything was about to change. Lily walked with her younger brother toward the school building, arguing about whose turn it was to feed their dog. She was 11 and took her responsibilities seriously, which meant making sure her brother did his chores properly. Owen, only 8, insisted he had fed Max yesterday even though Lily clearly remembered doing it herself. Their debate ended abruptly when the sky split open. The ship descended without sound, massive and silver, blocking out the sun. Lily grabbed Owen's hand as people around them stopped and stared upward. Some parents ran toward their children. Others stood frozen, uncertain whether to be amazed or terrified. The answer came quickly. Beams of light shot down from the vessel, and where they touched ground, people simply vanished. Lily felt the warmth first, then weightlessness, then nothing but white brightness. When her vision cleared, she stood in a room made entirely of smooth, pale walls that seemed to glow from within. Owen clung to her side, trembling. Around them, other children appeared in similar beams of light, materializing like ghosts, becoming solid. Sophie was the first to scream. At 13, she understood danger better than the younger ones. She ran at the walls, pounding them with her fists, demanding to be released. Her fury sparked panic among the others, and soon the room filled with crying and shouting. Lily wanted to scream too, wanted to pound the walls like Sophie, but Owen's grip on her shirt kept her anchored. Someone had to stay calm. Someone had to think. She counted 47 children in total, the oldest being Sophie and a boy named Robert who looked about 14. The youngest was a tiny girl named Penny, who could not have been more than 6. Penny sobbed for her mother in a way that made Lily's chest hurt. Without thinking about it, Lily crossed the room and knelt beside the little girl. Beyond the walls, which were transparent from the outside, Dr. Rell observed his new specimens with satisfaction. The humans were exactly as his preliminary studies had suggested: emotional, reactive, prone to excessive attachment behaviors. He made notes on his data pad, recording the volume of their distress calls, the way they clustered together, how the older ones attempted to comfort the younger. Fascinating creatures, really. Primitive but displaying complex social structures. Captain Bryn reviewed the collection report without much interest. Another species, another research mission. The collective had been studying lesser civilizations for 6 centuries, cataloging their behaviors, preserving their genetic material, occasionally uplifting promising ones to join the galactic community. These humans were too young as a spacefaring race, barely 80 years since their first clumsy, faster-than-light travel. Give them another 1,000 years and perhaps they would matter. For now, they were simply curiosities. Inside the chamber, Lily convinced Sophie to stop hitting the walls. Her hands were bleeding, and it was clear the material would not break no matter how hard anyone struck it. Robert helped gather the children into a circle, getting them to sit down together. It was easier to stay calm sitting down. Lily learned that from her mother during storm season, when the winds howled and the house shook. Owen asked the question they were all thinking. When can we go home? Nobody had an answer. Lily squeezed his hand and lied with a confidence she did not feel. Soon, someone will come for us soon. The days blurred together in the White Room. Aliens came to observe them, creatures that looked nothing like humans. Some had too many legs. Others floated without touching the ground. One appeared to be made entirely of crystals that chimed softly when it moved. They watched through the walls, taking notes, occasionally projecting images that the children were clearly supposed to respond to. Pictures of Earth animals, human cities, family groups. The children learned quickly that cooperation meant better food, warmer blankets, slightly more comfortable sleeping areas. But cooperation had limits. When the aliens tried to separate them into smaller groups, the children refused. They locked arms and would not move. Sophie shouted threats that made no sense but felt good to say. Lily simply stated firmly that they stayed together, all of them. The aliens eventually relented, which taught the children an important lesson. Unity gave them power. Even here, 2 weeks into their captivity, Owen discovered that one section of the wall hummed at a different frequency than the others. He spent hours with his ear pressed against it, listening. Robert theorized it might be a power conduit or communication relay. Sophie wanted to break it. Lily had a different idea. If it was communication equipment, maybe they could use it. Late one night, while most children slept in their shared corner, Lily and Robert worked at the humming wall section. Using a sharp piece from a broken eating utensil, they scratched and pried until a tiny panel came loose. Behind it lay circuits and wires that meant nothing to them, but Owen remembered something from school. His teacher had shown them old Earth emergency beacons, explained how they worked on simple repeating signals. They had no tools, no knowledge, no real plan. But they had time and determination and nothing left to lose. For 3 more days they worked in secret, stripping wires, connecting things that might or might not create what they needed. On the 3rd night something sparked. Owen yelped and pulled his hand back, and in that moment, deep in the ship's systems, a signal activated. It was weak, unintentional, not even a proper distress call. But it carried one piece of information that changed everything. Human life signs where no humans should be, moving away from New Harvest at faster than light speeds. And somewhere, many light years away, that signal reached a listening post on the edge of human territory. An officer looked at her screen, frowned, and reached for the emergency comm line. Within minutes, the message traveled up the chain of command, each repetition adding urgency until it landed on the desk of someone with the authority to act. The children did not know any of this. They huddled together in their white prison, holding on to each other, hoping without proof that someone, somewhere, would come. Ambassador Harris had not slept in 4 days. The diplomatic shuttle felt too slow, too fragile, too inadequate for what needed to happen. Beside him, his aide reviewed the presentation files for the 100th time, making sure every fact was correct, every translation was accurate, every cultural sensitivity was observed. None of it would matter. Harris knew this species, knew their arrogance, knew they would smile with whatever parts of their bodies served that function and dismiss him as a barbaric upstart. He was going to warn them anyway. The collective council chamber existed in a space station so vast it had its own weather systems in the biodome sections. 7 species held permanent seats on the council, representatives of civilizations that had been traveling between stars when humans still thought Earth was flat. They gathered in a circular room where holographic displays showed real-time data from thousands of worlds. It was meant to be impressive. It succeeded. Dr. Rell attended as the presiding researcher on the Human Specimen Project. He stood in his designated area, mandibles clicking with satisfaction. The data was remarkable. These humans showed stress responses unlike anything in the documented archives. Their cortisol levels should have killed them, yet they adapted, cooperated, even thrived under observation. His paper would be referenced for centuries. Harris entered the chamber without ceremony. Protocol demanded he wait for an invitation to speak, but protocol could burn. You have human children, 47 of them. I need them returned immediately. The council members exchanged looks that translated across species as amused condescension. Counselor Thresh, an aquatic being whose tank required anti-gravity fields, rippled with colors that meant gentle mockery. Ambassador Harris, we understand your concern. However, the specimens are unharmed and well cared for. Our research will conclude in approximately 6 standard months, at which point, specimens? Harris interrupted, knowing it was rude, not caring. Those are children. Human children. You've kidnapped them and you need to return them now. Another counselor, this one crystalline and ancient, chimed softly. We acquired samples for legitimate scientific study. Your species was notified through proper channels. The economic compensation has already been transferred to your government. Harris felt something cold settle in his stomach. Compensation? You think you can pay for stolen children? They are not stolen, Dr. Rell interjected, eager to explain. Our acquisition followed all collective protocols for studying developing species. We have permits, oversight, ethical review boards. Everything is perfectly legal under galactic law. I don't care about galactic law, Harris said quietly, dangerously. You need to understand what you've done. You need to return those children before this becomes something nobody can stop. Counselor Thresh rippled again, this time in a pattern that suggested boredom. Ambassador, we appreciate your emotional response. We understand that less advanced species often form excessive attachments to their offspring. However, we must insist on completing our research. The knowledge gained will benefit the entire galaxy, including your own people. Harris pulled up a holographic display from his datapad, throwing it onto the main screen where everyone could see. Images filled the chamber. Human history, warfare, destruction. This is what humans do when you threaten our young. This is what we've always done on every continent in every era, since before we understood fire. He showed them battles, sieges, entire civilizations burning. We don't negotiate. We don't accept mediation. We destroy whoever took our children, and we don't stop until they're gone or we are. The crystalline counselor chimed in a frequency that meant dismissal. Ancient history. Your species has evolved beyond such barbarism, surely. We haven't, Harris said flatly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This isn't cultural. It's biological. When you took those children, you triggered something in every human who knows about it. Our military is already moving. There are 7 battle fleets converging on collective space right now, and they won't stop for anything. This got their attention. Counselor Vren, an insectoid being whose species had fought wars lasting centuries, leaned forward. You threaten military action against the collective? Your entire species has perhaps 50 capital ships. We have thousands. Your technology is generations behind ours. This is irrational. Yes, Harris agreed. It is, that's the point. We're not being rational. We can't be. You have our children. Nothing else matters until we get them back. Dr. Rell clicked his mandibles in what might have been concern. Ambassador, surely you understand that threatening the collective will only result in devastating losses for your species. We have no desire for conflict, but we are fully capable of defending ourselves. Harris looked at him directly. You'll win, probably. Your technology is better, your numbers are greater, your experience vastly exceeds ours. You'll destroy most of our fleet, but we'll keep coming. We'll send every ship we have. We'll retrofit civilian vessels if we have to. We'll ram your ships with ours if the missiles run out. And some of us will get through. Some of us will reach that research station where you're keeping our children. And when we do, everyone there dies. Everyone, is your research worth that? The chamber fell silent. Finally, Counselor Thresh spoke, colors shifting to formal pronouncement patterns. Ambassador Harris, your passion is noted. However, the collective does not respond to threats, regardless of how emotionally delivered. We will complete our research according to the established timeline. Your children will be returned unharmed in 6 months. We suggest you explain to your military leadership that aggressive action will be met with appropriate defensive measures. Harris stood there for a long moment, looking at each council member in turn. When he spoke again, his voice carried no anger, only terrible certainty. You were warned. When this is over, when you're counting your dead, remember that I came here first. I tried to stop it. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on you, because we won't. He left without being dismissed, violating another protocol nobody cared about. His aide hurried after him, pale and shaking. Sir, do you think they'll reconsider? No, Harris said. They think we're bluffing. They think we're primitive children throwing tantrums. They have no idea what they've actually done. Back in the chamber, the counselors debated briefly before dismissing the matter. Human threats were concerning but ultimately toothless. The research would continue. Protocols would be followed. If the humans attempted military action, the collective fleet would teach them why young species did not challenge established powers. Dr. Rell returned to his laboratory, slightly troubled. He pulled up Earth's historical files again, reading through humanity's conflicts. There was a pattern there. Something disturbing in how humans behaved when their offspring were endangered. Every war, every battle, every instance of humans fighting to the last person seemed connected to protection of their young in some way. Even metaphorically, defending homelands where children lived, fighting for futures their offspring would inherit. He made a note to research this further. Perhaps there was a paper in this after all, something about evolutionary psychology and parental investment theory. It would have to wait until after the current project concluded, of course. On the research station, Owen pressed his ear against the wall again, listening to vibrations he could not interpret. Lily organized the other children into study groups, keeping their minds active. Sophie taught the younger ones swear words she had learned from older kids back home, which felt like rebellion even if their captors did not understand the language. And in deep space, human ships moved, silent, determined, carrying soldiers and weapons in fury. Admiral Cross had 3 children of her own, all grown now, all serving somewhere in the fleet. She knew exactly what it felt like to send your child into danger, to wait for news, to fear the worst. Every parent knew that feeling. The difference was that her children had chosen their danger. The children on that research station had not chosen anything. She stood in the command center of the warship Relentless, watching sensor displays show 7 human battle groups dropping out of faster-than-light travel simultaneously at 7 different points along the collective border. Months of preparation, every available ship pulled from patrol duties, every reserve crew called up, all for this moment. The largest military operation in human history, and it had one purpose. Send the message, she ordered, across every collective communication channel, on every frequency they used, in every language they spoke. The same words broadcast: return our children within 48 hours, unharmed, or face complete annihilation. This is your only warning. The collective border patrol commanders received the message with confusion that shifted quickly to alarm. Human ships were not supposed to be here. Certainly not in these numbers. Absolutely not in full battle formation with weapons armed. Emergency protocols activated. Defense fleets scrambled. And somewhere in a council chamber, beings who thought they understood warfare began to realize they understood nothing about humans. The first engagement happened at Border Station 7, where a collective patrol fleet of 18 ships moved to intercept the human vessels. Fleet Commander Wren had fought in 3 wars during his long career. He understood tactics, strategy, the careful dance of space combat where ships maneuvered for advantage and honored the ancient rules that kept warfare from becoming absolute chaos. He transmitted the standard challenge, expected the standard response, and prepared for a standard battle. What happened next was not standard. The human ships did not maneuver for position. They accelerated directly toward the collective fleet at speeds that made no tactical sense, firing everything they had. No attempt at communication, no adherence to engagement protocols, no regard for their own safety. Wren watched in horror as damaged human ships continued their attack runs even as they broke apart, their pilots steering debris into collective vessels like missiles. One human destroyer took critical hits that should have forced its surrender. Instead, it turned directly toward Wren's flagship, engines burning at emergency power, accelerating despite the fires consuming its hull. Wren ordered evasive maneuvers, but space combat did not allow for quick changes in trajectory. The destroyer struck his ship's portside and both vessels tore apart in a bloom of light and metal. Wren survived in an escape pod, one of the few. He floated there, watching human ships hunt down every remaining collective vessel with relentless efficiency. They took no prisoners. They accepted no surrenders. 4 hours after the battle began, every collective ship was destroyed. The human fleet had lost 6 vessels, but the survivors simply reformed and proceeded deeper into collective space. Similar scenes played out at 5 other border stations. Only at Border Station 3 did the collective forces manage a successful defense, destroying the human attack group through superior numbers and technology. But that victory came at a cost of 43 collective ships lost to eliminate 9 human vessels. The mathematics were horrifying. Humans traded ships at rates no rational species would accept. The galactic news networks, always hungry for content, descended on the story like scavengers. Footage spread across thousands of worlds showing human warfare in its purest form. Other species watched in disbelief as humans violated every convention of civilized combat. Damaged ships that should have retreated instead crashed themselves into enemy vessels. Pilots who should have ejected stayed at their controls to guarantee their hits. Entire crews died to destroy single targets. One video went viral across the galaxy. A human fighter pilot whose ship had lost all weapons continuing to attack a collective cruiser. The fighter's cockpit camera recorded everything. The pilot spoke calmly to herself, repeating names like a prayer. Lily, Owen, Sophie, Penny, Robert. 47 names, one for each child. When her ship finally struck the cruiser's engine section, the explosion took both vessels. The last thing her camera showed was a picture taped to her console, a little girl smiling, holding a stuffed animal. The collective council convened in emergency session. Counselor Thresh rippled with colors that expressed confusion and growing alarm. This makes no sense. They're losing ships at rates that will deplete their fleet in weeks. Why continue? Because they don't care about the losses. Admiral Cross's voice interrupted their deliberations. She had hacked into their communication systems, wanting them to hear this directly. You have our children. Nothing else matters. We will sacrifice every ship, every pilot, every soldier until we get them back or die trying. There is no middle ground. There is no negotiation. Return the children or we burn your civilization to ash. Counselor Vren clicked his mandibles in agitation. This is insanity. You're destroying yourselves. Yes, Cross agreed. And we're taking you with us. Your choice is simple. Give back 47 children or watch us destroy everything you've built over thousands of years. We don't want your territory. We don't want your resources. We want our children. Give them back. The council muted the channel and debated furiously. Dr. Rel, watching from his research station, reviewed his data with new eyes. The stress hormones he had measured in the children were not just fear responses. They were signals, calls for help that every human who knew about them felt compelled to answer. He pulled up comparative data from other species looking for similar patterns. Nothing came close. Other species protected their young, certainly, but humans took it to levels that registered as pathological. He found a study from early human history, something about a chemical called oxytocin, that bonded parents to offspring. In humans, this bonding was not just parent to child. It extended to entire communities, entire nations, the entire species. When one human child was threatened, all humans responded as if their own child was in danger. It was not rational. It was not strategic. It was hardwired into their biology. Dr. Rel opened a communication channel to the council. We need to return the children immediately. We do not negotiate with terrorists, Counselor Thresh declared. These are not terrorists, Dr. Rel said, his voice urgent. They're parents. All of them. The entire species is reacting as parents. Look at the data. They're not capable of backing down. It's not in their psychology. We took their children and now they will destroy us or die. There is no third option. The council dismissed his concerns. They ordered additional fleet deployments, activated defense systems that had not been used in centuries, prepared for a siege they believed they would win through superior technology. What they did not understand, what they could not understand, was that humans did not fight to win. They fought to get their children back. Victory was not the goal. Recovery was. Admiral Cross received word that the council had refused their demands. She felt no anger, no surprise. They were alien in every way that mattered, unable to comprehend what drove humanity forward. She issued new orders, and the human fleets pressed deeper into collective space, leaving burning stations behind them. On the research station, Lily gathered the children close as alarms sounded in the distance. Someone's coming, she told them with certainty she could not explain. We just have to hold on a little longer. Research Station Nexus 7 had existed for 300 years, housing some of the finest scientific minds in the galaxy. Its corridors stretched for kilometers. Laboratories studied everything from quantum mechanics to xenobiology, and its defensive systems could repel any reasonable attack. Director Quinn, who had managed the station for 50 years, believed absolutely in its safety. That belief lasted until 30 human warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation around his station. They did not fire immediately. That was somehow worse. Admiral Cross broadcast on all frequencies, her voice calm and tired and utterly without mercy. This station contains 47 human children. Send them out unharmed within 1 hour. Anyone who harmed them will face trial. Anyone who cooperates will be spared. Anyone who resists dies here. Director Quinn stared at his screens in disbelief. They cannot be serious. This station is sovereign collective territory. They have no authority here. His second-in-command, a younger researcher named Priya, looked at the human fleet formation with growing dread. Director, perhaps we should consider— We consider nothing, Quinn interrupted. Contact the collective fleet. We need immediate military support. The message went out, calling for help. The response came 3 hours later, and it was not what anyone wanted to hear. The collective relief fleet had been intercepted by human forces 20 light-years away. The battle was ongoing. No help was coming. Admiral Cross watched the station through her view screens, patient as stone. Her orders were clear. No shots fired at the station's living sections. No risks to the children, but everything else was acceptable targeting. She waited for the hour to expire, then gave the order. The human fleet opened fire with surgical precision. Defensive weapons were destroyed first. Each shot calculated to cause maximum damage to systems while minimizing risk to life. Sensor arrays vanished in sparks. Shield generators exploded. Docking bays became twisted wreckage. Within 20 minutes, the station was defenseless and not a single person inside had been killed. Then the broadcasts began. At first, Director Quinn thought the humans were threatening them with the noise. Then he realized the truth was far more disturbing. The sounds coming through every speaker on the station were human lullabies, songs meant for children, soft and gentle, sung by voices rough with emotion. "Lily, this is Mom, I love you. Stay strong, baby. We're coming. Oh, and buddy, it's Dad. Remember when we went fishing? Remember you caught that big one? When you get home, we'll go again. I promise. Sophie, it's your sister. The whole family is here. We're all waiting for you. Just hold on." The messages played constantly. Different voices for each child, parents and siblings and friends all telling the children they were loved, they were not forgotten, help was coming. Station personnel tried to block the broadcasts, but the humans overrode every attempt. The voices filled the station, echoing through corridors, penetrating laboratories, finding their way into every quiet corner. Dr. Rell stood outside the children's chamber, listening to the broadcasts. The children inside were crying now, but not from fear. They heard their families. They knew people were fighting for them. He watched as Lily hugged Owen, both of them listening to their parents' voices with expressions of desperate hope. These were not specimens. They never had been. They were someone's children, and those someones had come for them. Inside the station, the staff began to fracture. Some, like Dr. Rell, wanted to release the children immediately. Others feared the consequences of giving in to what they saw as terrorism. Arguments broke out in corridors. One researcher physically fought a security officer who tried to prevent her from accessing the children's chamber. The station that had operated smoothly for centuries descended into chaos in less than a day. Director Quinn sealed himself in his office, refusing to acknowledge reality. He sent messages to the council demanding instructions, receiving only silence. The council was dealing with 3 other human fleets tearing through collective space, and one research station no longer ranked as a priority. The psychological warfare continued. Human ships broadcast not just messages but imagery. Videos of the families waiting on new harvest. Images of the children's rooms left exactly as they had been. Footage of entire communities holding vigils. The aliens watching these broadcasts saw something that disturbed them deeply. Every human shown was not just worried but actively furious, their grief transforming into rage that seemed barely contained. One video showed a human woman, Owen's mother, speaking directly to the camera. "To whoever is listening on that station, you have my son. You have everyone's sons and daughters. We will never stop coming. We will never give up. You can kill every single one of us, and the last human alive will still be trying to reach them. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Return our children." Priya finally confronted Director Quinn in his office. "We have to release them. The humans will not stop. They will destroy this station and everyone on it." "They are bluffing," Quinn insisted, but his colors betrayed uncertainty. No species would sacrifice this much for so few. "They already have," Priya said quietly. 300 human ships destroyed so far. Thousands dead. And they keep coming. Director, they mean what they say. Those children are worth more to them than peace, than logic, than their own lives. Outside the station, Admiral Cross prepared for the next phase. Her deadline had passed. The station had not surrendered. She did not want to give the next order, but she would. The breach teams were ready, loaded into assault craft equipped to cut through the station's hull. They carried no heavy weapons. Every soldier had been briefed. Maximum care around the children. Zero tolerance for anyone who got in the way. Lieutenant Hayes checked his weapon for the 3rd time, looking at the photo attached to his chest plate. Lily, age 11, smiling at a birthday party. He did not know her personally. That did not matter. She was human. She was a child. She needed help. The equation was simple. His squad leader, Sergeant Barnes, noticed the photo. "You got family involved?" "No," Hayes said. "But that doesn't mean anything, does it?" Barnes shook her head. "No, it doesn't. The assault craft launched and the real violence began. Human soldiers cut through the station's outer hull with plasma torches, breaching at multiple points simultaneously. Station security tried to mount a defense, but they were researchers and administrators, not soldiers. The humans moved through corridors with brutal efficiency, and anyone who pointed a weapon at them died instantly. Dr. Rell saw them coming on security monitors. He made his decision in seconds, opening the door to the children's chamber. "You need to come with me, quickly." Lily looked at him with suspicion earned through weeks of captivity. "Why should we trust you?" "Because your people are here, and they are killing anyone who gets in their way, and I do not want to see you hurt in the crossfire." He gestured frantically. "Please, I am trying to help," Sophie pushed forward. "How do we know this isn't a trick?" "You don't," Dr. Rell admitted. "But staying here is certainly dangerous. Coming with me is possibly safe. Choose." Lily made the decision, gathering the younger children. "We stay together. All of us. All of you," Dr. Rell agreed. He led them through back corridors away from the fighting toward the main docking bay. Behind them, sounds of combat grew louder. Weapons fire, explosions, the distinctive sound of metal tearing. Director Quinn finally emerged from his office, prepared to negotiate, but found only human soldiers who were not interested in conversation. He was secured with restraints and left under guard, his authority meaning nothing here. The human forces reached the children's chamber and found it empty. For a moment, panic set in. Then sensors picked up movement in the service corridors, and the soldiers changed direction, following the signal with grim determination. Nothing would stop them now. They were too close. Dr. Rell moved as quickly as his insectoid legs could carry him, the children following in a tight group. Behind them, the sounds of combat grew louder. He had sealed several doors to slow any pursuit, but he knew human soldiers could cut through such obstacles easily. His only hope was reaching the docking bay before violence found them. Owen stumbled, and Lily caught him without breaking stride. These children had learned to function as a unit, supporting each other through fear and uncertainty. Dr. Rell found himself admiring their resilience even as he regretted his part in creating their trauma. Science had seemed so important weeks ago. Now it felt hollow against the reality of actual lives disrupted. They burst into the main docking bay just as human soldiers breached from another entrance. For a frozen moment, weapons pointed at the group, targeting systems locked on. Dr. Rell raised his appendages in surrender, placing himself between the guns and the children. "Don't shoot. I have them. They are safe." Lieutenant Hayes saw the children and felt something break loose in his chest. They were real. Not data points or mission objectives, but actual small humans who looked scared and tired and far too thin. His training held firm, weapons still raised, but his voice gentled. "Kids, can you tell me your names?" Lily stepped forward, putting herself in front of the youngest children. "I'm Lily. This is Owen, my brother." "That's Sophie, Robert, Penny." She went through all 47 names without hesitation, her voice steady despite obvious fear. Hayes lowered his weapon, and his squad followed suit. "We're here to take you home. Is anyone hurt?" "No," Lily said. "He didn't hurt us." She pointed at Dr. Rell. "He kept us safe just now." Sergeant Barnes moved forward, medical scanner already active, checking each child methodically. Minor malnutrition, elevated stress hormones, but nothing critical. They were alive. They were intact. The mission was not over, but its most important objective was suddenly, miraculously achieved. Dr. Rell watched as human soldiers transformed from lethal weapons into gentle caretakers in seconds. One large man knelt to Penny's level, speaking softly while offering her a ration bar. Another helped Robert, who was limping slightly, providing support without being asked. These were the same soldiers who had carved through the station with merciless efficiency moments ago. "I need to speak to your command," Dr. Rell said urgently. "I have information about why this happened. About why humans responded this way. It is important." Hayes looked at him with cold assessment. "You're the one who took them." "I participated in their capture, yes. I believed we were conducting legitimate research. I was wrong." Dr. Rell gestured at the children, at the soldiers, at the destroyed station around them. "I understand that now. But there is something your leaders need to know. Something that could prevent this from happening again with any species." Admiral Cross arrived in person. Having taken a shuttle to the station once the breach was successful, she walked into the docking bay and saw the children. Actually saw them and felt tears she had been holding back for weeks finally fall. They were so small, so vulnerable, and humans had moved fleets and started wars and died in fires to get them back. She knelt in front of Lily, the girl who had kept everyone together, who had been strong when strength was impossible. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm Admiral Cross. We're going to take you home now." Lily's composure broke. She fell into the Admiral's arms and sobbed, finally allowing herself to be a scared child instead of a leader. Cross held her, looking at the other children being comforted by soldiers, and made a silent promise. This would never happen again. Whatever it took, however many laws needed changing, no species would ever steal human children again. Dr. Rel waited patiently as the children were loaded onto shuttles, each one wrapped in thermal blankets, given food and water, assigned a soldier who stayed with them constantly. When the last child was secure, Cross turned to him. "Tell me what's so important." Dr. Rel pulled up data on a portable display, showing genetic sequences, hormone studies, behavioral patterns. Your species is unique. Not superior, not inferior, but fundamentally different in one critical way. Most sentient species evolved with reproductive strategies that emphasized quantity, produce many offspring, except that most will not survive to adulthood. Humans evolved differently. He showed comparative data, highlighting humanity's unusually long childhood dependency period, the enormous parental investment required for each offspring. You produce few children and each one represents years of resources, effort, protection. This created intense evolutionary pressure to protect those children at any cost. The instinct is not just strong, it is absolute. Cross watched the data, understanding dawning. You're saying we're hardwired for this response? More than hardwired. It defines you. Dr. Rel changed the display to show historical patterns. Every human culture, every era, regardless of other differences, shares this characteristic. Threaten human children and the entire species responds as if their own offspring were in danger. It is not metaphorical. The same brain chemistry activates, the same hormones flood your systems, the same protective instincts trigger. He pulled up footage from the recent battles, showing human pilots sacrificing themselves. This is not courage. This is biology. When you believed children needed protection, your warriors literally could not consider their own safety. The programming is too deep. And other species don't have this? Cross asked. Not to this degree. Most species protect their young, certainly, but the cost-benefit analysis remains functional. They can assess when the price is too high. Humans cannot. When your children are threatened, there is no price too high. You will pay anything, sacrifice anything, burn anything. Dr. Rel's voice carried genuine concern. This makes you terrifying. You do not follow the rules because you literally do not process threats to children the same way other species do. Cross absorbed this, thinking about the implications. You need to share this information with the collective council. They need to understand what happens if any species takes our children. I already have, Dr. Rel said quietly. I broadcast my findings across all collective channels an hour ago. The council is in emergency session now. He hesitated. I also recommended immediate cessation of all hostilities and formal recognition of human children as universally protected. Not just your children, all children, because I believe humans will extend this protection to any young ones they encounter. He was right about that. Cross knew it instinctively. Any child in danger would trigger this response. It was not logical, but logic had nothing to do with it. On the council chamber, the debate raged. Councillor Thresh rippled with colors of distress. If what Dr. Rel says is accurate, humans are a galactic security threat. They cannot be reasoned with when children are involved. Or, Councillor Vren clicked, they are the ultimate deterrent against anyone who would harm the innocent. Consider, if humans respond this way to their own children, would they not respond similarly to other species young? Perhaps we have not found a threat but a guardian, the crystalline councillor chimed thoughtfully. We assumed they were bluffing because no rational species behaves this way. We were correct that it was irrational. We failed to realize that humans do not apply rationality to this particular scenario. The vote came swiftly. Unconditional surrender on this matter. Return all human children immediately. Pay reparations, accept human terms for peace, and more. Establish new galactic law making children of any species completely off limits for any reason. Violation would be treated as an attack, not just on the affected species, but on humanity as well. And nobody wanted humanity as an enemy again. Dr. Rel watched the council vote from the station, surrounded by human soldiers who treated him with wary respect. He had helped save the children, but he had also taken them in the first place. That complexity would define the rest of his life, he suspected. Admiral Cross received notification of the council's decision. She allowed herself one moment of pure relief before activating fleet-wide communications. All ships, hostilities are ended. The collective has surrendered. Our children are coming home. The journey home took 3 days, and every minute felt like a gift. The human fleet maintained combat formation despite the ceasefire, weapons armed, shields active, trusting nothing until the children were safely on New Harvest soil. Admiral Cross spent most of the trip visiting the children, learning their stories, promising them personally that this would never happen again. Lily had taken charge of organizing activities for the younger ones, unable to stop being the leader even in safety. She taught them card games, led group singing sessions, made sure everyone ate their meals. Cross recognized leadership when she saw it and made a mental note. This girl would do remarkable things if given the chance. Owen stayed close to Lieutenant Hayes, the soldier who had been first through the door. Hayes did not mind. He taught Owen to play chess badly and listened to stories about New Harvest and fishing trips with his father. Simple things that reminded everyone why this mattered. Sophie remained angry, which was healthy. Trauma did not vanish just because rescue came. She spent hours with the fleet counselor, working through rage at her captivity, fear for her future, guilt that she had not somehow saved everyone sooner. The counselor assured her that 11-year-olds were not supposed to save anyone, but Sophie would need time to believe it. They arrived at New Harvest to find every colonist waiting. The landing field overflowed with people, all of them desperate for their first glimpse of the returning children. Admiral Cross had wanted a medical facility landing, somewhere controlled where doctors could properly assess everyone. The children had other ideas. "We want to see our families," Lily said, speaking for all of them. "Please," Cross could not refuse. She changed the landing coordinates, and when the shuttle touched down, she opened the doors to controlled chaos. Parents rushed forward, names shouting, tears flowing, reunions happening in waves of desperate embraces. Owen's father lifted him completely off the ground, holding him like he weighed nothing. Lily's mother touched her daughter's face over and over, as if confirming she was real. Sophie's family formed a protective circle around her, and for the first time since her capture, she looked like a child again instead of a warrior. Penny disappeared into her mother's arms and did not emerge for hours. Robert reunited with his grandmother, who had raised him, both of them crying too hard to speak. Admiral Cross watched from a distance, giving families their privacy. Dr. Rell stood beside her, the only alien permitted on New Harvest soil. He had requested to witness this, needed to see what his research had almost destroyed. "I did not understand," he said quietly. "I knew intellectually that they had families, but I did not comprehend what that meant." "Not really. Now you do," Cross said without sympathy. She was not ready to forgive, might never be ready, but she could acknowledge his help. "What will you do now?" "Return to collective space. Face trial for my participation in the abduction. Testify about everything I learned." Dr. Rell watched a father swing his daughter in circles, both of them laughing, "and spend the rest of my life ensuring this never happens to any species again." The trials took months. Director Quinn and 3 other senior staff received life sentences for their refusal to return the children when warned. Dr. Rell received 15 years, reduced to supervised research restrictions due to his cooperation. Others faced various penalties based on their roles. The collective paid unprecedented reparations to humanity, and more importantly, changed fundamental laws about contact with developing species. The galactic community struggled to process what had happened. News networks showed battle footage, interviews with survivors, analysis from military experts who could not quite explain human tactics. Other species watched and learned. Some found humanity's response admirable. Others found it terrifying. Most felt both. 5 years passed. The children grew, carrying scars both visible and hidden. Most recovered well with proper support. Some struggled. All of them changed the galaxy simply by surviving. Lily enrolled in the diplomatic service at 16, youngest applicant ever accepted. Her entrance essay asked one question: how do we prevent fear from leading to hatred? She spent 5 years studying, learning, preparing, and at 21 she stood before the Galactic Assembly for the first time. The chamber was enormous. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss trade agreements, territorial disputes, scientific collaboration. Lily was scheduled to speak about educational exchange programs, something minor to give her experience. She changed the topic without permission. 5 years ago I was abducted with 46 other children, she began, her voice clear. We were taken because a species that considered themselves advanced thought we were interesting specimens to study. They did not think we were people. They did not consider that we had families, dreams, fears, futures. The chamber fell silent. Every being present knew this story, but hearing it from one of the children carried different weight. My people responded with violence. We destroyed ships, burned stations, killed thousands. We did this because in that moment, nothing else mattered except getting us back. Other species call this irrational. They are right. It is irrational. It is also inevitable. Lily looked around the chamber, meeting eyes of every species. Humans cannot stop themselves from protecting children, ours or anyone else's. It is built into us deeper than reason, stronger than fear. She pulled up a display showing recent incidents. In the past 5 years, human ships have responded to 17 distress calls involving children of other species. We diverted vessels, risked crews, spent resources to save young ones who were not even our own. We did this because we cannot help ourselves. When a child is in danger, humans respond. Counselor Thresh, still serving despite the scandal, rippled with uncertain colors. Ambassador Lily, are you suggesting humans see themselves as galactic protectors? No, Lily said firmly. I'm suggesting that you thought we were weak because we love fiercely. You believed emotional attachment was primitive. You were wrong. Our love is not a weakness. It is what makes us dangerous and what makes us reliable. You can trust that humans will always protect children, all children, because we cannot do anything else. She changed the display again, showing proposals. I propose establishment of the Galactic Child Protection Initiative, headquartered on human worlds, enforced by human fleets, dedicated to ensuring no child of any species faces what we faced. We will fund it. We will staff it. We will die for it if necessary, because that is what humans do. The proposal passed 3 months later by overwhelming majority. No species voted against it, though some abstained. The message was clear. Humanity had frightened the galaxy, but they had also offered something valuable. Absolute, irrational, unstoppable protection for the innocent. Dr. Rell published his final paper at age equivalent to 90 human years. Understanding Humanity. When weakness becomes strength became required reading in xenobiology courses across the galaxy. His conclusion was simple. Humans were unique not because they were stronger, smarter, or more advanced, but because they had turned evolutionary vulnerability into tactical advantage. Most species see children as investments to be protected when rational. Humans see children as absolutes to be protected regardless of cost. This makes them predictable in one way and unpredictable in all others. Threaten human young and you face total war. Protect any young and you gain human friendship. They are not complex. They are simply operating on different rules than the rest of us. Admiral Cross retired at 60, having rebuilt humanity's fleet into something that made other species nervous. Her final act was commissioning 47 ships, each named after one of the rescued children. The first, HSS Lily, served as flagship for the Child Protection Initiative fleet. Owen became a teacher on New Harvest, working with children who had experienced trauma. He never left the colony, finding peace in familiar places, but he kept a model ship on his desk, a reminder that someone had come for him when he needed it. Sophie joined the Marines, surprising no one. She served on the HSS Lily for a decade before taking command of her own vessel. When asked why she stayed in military service, she answered simply, "So no one else has to be as scared as we were." On the anniversary of the rescue, New Harvest held memorial services honoring the 317 humans who died in Operation Homecoming. The colonists gathered, families stood together, and children, including some who had been rescued, placed flowers at the monument. The inscription was simple. They came for 47. Remember what we are willing to pay. The galaxy learned to live with humans, strange creatures who loved too fiercely and fought too hard and could not be reasoned with when children were involved. Some species found this frustrating, others found it comforting. All of them understood that humanity had changed galactic civilization fundamentally, and the change was probably for the better. Lily stood on the observation deck of HSS Lily decades later, watching stars stream past. She commanded the flagship now, ensuring the promise made years ago stayed kept. Somewhere out there were children of hundreds of species living safe because humanity had decided that children were sacred. All children, always. She thought about that 11-year-old girl who had been scared but stayed strong, who had comforted younger children in a white room, who had believed someone would come